Oh, we have got 3 absolute units of entitlement for you today. First up, a guy whose ex takes a job 100 miles away, watches her own backup plan collapse, then demands he blow up his career to fix it. Then a woman who watched her boyfriend's family circle his grandparents like vultures, fighting over a will while the grandparents are still alive. And finally, a dad whose parents try to hijack his entire family vacation and quietly cut out his wife's side. Grab a snack because, oh, you're not ready for this one. This guy's ex moved the goalposts 100 miles, then sent him the bill. So basically, my ex-girlfriend and I separated 7 years ago. We have a daughter together while I have 2 daughters from a previous relationship. We have both moved on with our lives. I'm due to marry in 18 months, and she got engaged last Christmas. And we have shared custody of our daughter, 50:50. On the days I have my daughter, I have to collect and leave her to school, and she would organize the other days, which means I have to leave work early on days and arrive late on days. Thankfully, my employer has been very understanding and has accommodated my situation as long as hours are made up, which would involve me being available on weekends for emergencies. Not an ideal situation, but it works. Anyways, the ex has taken up a job 100 miles away, and her plan is to commute daily. I have my opinions on that, but not my monkey, not my circus. She had arranged for her dad to collect daughter on her days, and what seems like a noble idea and a great solution. Reality is set in, and he finds his days are restricted either collecting daughter or leaving to school, and the novelty has passed and has pretty much told her that he won't be as available as he promised. Now, this leaves her pretty much up crap creek, as she has noon else to call upon to collect and leave to school. She has asked me to work from home 3 to 4 days per week, which would allow her to continue her role 100 miles away and ensure daughter is collected on time each day. This isn't an option for me. And in telling her that I can't accept these changes, she's accusing me of clinging to the past, being bitter about the breakup, and doing my best to sabotage and stifle her career. Am I the asshole? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "None of this is a you problem. It is moronic to drive 200 miles a day, also FFS. NTA." Another commenter said, "Even the IRS allows you to charge off $0. $725 per mile for uncompensated auto use for business purposes. This does not account for the 35% increase in gasoline price. So far this year, Mom is easily spending $125 a day commuting. She made a choice, it didn't work out, and now she wants him to pay for it with his job. That's not your circus, my friend. You owe her exactly nothing here, and the whole internet agrees. Not the asshole. So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. Picture meeting your boyfriend's family, and they're already fighting over a will while grandma and grandpa are very much still breathing. I am 27 female. My family is middle class, not overly poor, definitely not rich, but we were comfortable. My boyfriend 30 male grew up middle class as well, but his grandparents have money. Not insane money, but definitely well over what I would describe as middle class. His family pretty much makes a competition of who has what, and honestly, it weirds me out. They all have nice things, but they throw an absolute hissy fit if one gets something and another doesn't. Like one of his aunts got money for a kitchen remodel from his grandpa, and it has been the only thing his family has talked about in weeks. If you go to the grandparents' house and seem overly nice, they accuse you of trying to manipulate the will as well. This happened to me, and I was just absolutely baffled over it. I'm a nurse. We were talking about healthcare. I did not understand why they thought I was trying to get in the will. Where I grew up, asking it all about money, or someone's will, or your standing in said will is so incredibly taboo. It makes it look as if you are wanting their money and not them. If you get something in someone's will, it is an occasion to be thankful that you meant something to them. Like a token of love, not like something that is owed to you. They have asked me on multiple occasions about my own salary and savings, and I do not believe that is something that should be talked about. Again, extremely taboo. It isn't something that we do. In my family, if you look in someone else's cup, it's supposed to be to make sure they have enough. I have enough, the rest isn't their business. My BF and I are talking about our future and planning to get married. However, I have a huge hesitation around the way his family behaves. It makes me very uncomfortable. I went to my BFS family gathering, and they were all talking about who will get what if the grandparents passed, and basically had a huge fight over it. And I made a face apparently and left early because I just didn't feel like wasting a perfectly good Saturday on that drama. My BF is now upset and saying that his family is upset that I looked disgusted and left abruptly. I told him his family is shameful, and no, I wouldn't apologize over it. I do not even want to be associated with them at this point. The grandparents are still very much alive, and they're fighting over what they might get. That's wild to me. I really do love my BF, but his family I do not like at all. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, I am curious how the grandparents feel, especially with the family acting like they're already dead. Keep in mind if this is truly the family you'd want to marry into. I sure as heck wouldn't. Another commenter said, it is definitely making me hesitant. My BF is so sweet, and we've been talking about the next steps, how we want our future to look. We've even talked about possible children, but I honestly cannot get over how his family behaves. You made a disgusted face at people fighting over a will while the owners are still alive? That's not rude. That's a perfectly reasonable human reaction. You have nothing to apologize for. And honestly, the real question is whether your boyfriend can see how gross his family is acting. Not the asshole. If you're enjoying these stories so far, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more. Here's a dad who just wanted a beach trip, and his parents turned it into a full-blown power grab. I, 31 male, am planning a trip to my home country with my wife, 33 female, and our 3 daughters. The main goal of the trip is to visit family, eat good food, and take a break from work and our normal routine. A few weeks ago, during a video call with my mom and grandmother, I mentioned that I'd like to take everyone to the beach while we were there. It wasn't a formal plan, just something I brought up in conversation. A couple weeks later, my wife and I started looking at Airbnbs. We found a beachfront place in a quiet town that we both liked. I've spent a lot of time working in that country before, so I'm familiar with the area and specifically wanted to avoid the huge tourist-heavy resort city nearby. I sent the listing to my mom just to get her opinion. The next day, after a long day at work, I got home and my dad immediately started telling me that the Airbnb I found was dangerous, that we weren't staying there, and that we were staying somewhere else instead. He had already talked to my brother about booking a different property. This caught me completely off guard because my dad wasn't even part of the planning process. He's currently staying in the US while the rest of the family is back home. I called my mom and brother to find out what was going on. They said the place I picked was too far from a popular tourist attraction and that we liked the other property better. They also said they wanted to pay for it as a gift. I told them the issue wasn't money. What bothered me was that everyone seemed to be making decisions for my family without talking to me first. Things got more complicated because my wife and I had also discussed inviting some of her family members. At that point, my mom and brother started saying things like there wouldn't be enough room, transportation would be difficult, and sleeping arrangements would be uncomfortable. After a longer discussion, it became pretty clear that they simply didn't want my wife's family involved. My wife was hurt by this because she had been trying to include everyone. I was angry because it felt like the entire trip had stopped being about spending time together and had turned into a power struggle. A few days later, my wife and I decided to compromise and stay at the property my family preferred. We figured it wasn't worth fighting over. Then my brother messaged me saying the price had gone up significantly and they didn't want to book it anymore. So we were back to square one. We started looking at alternatives and mentioned that my wife's sister might be able to get a few days off from university and join us. The moment that came up, the same objections started again. At that point, I lost my temper and canceled the beach trip entirely. I told my family I wasn't interested in spending my vacation trying to manage everyone's opinions and that I wasn't going to exclude my wife's family to keep them happy. Things got worse afterward. My dad called me angry because my mom had apparently told him that we weren't speaking anymore. During that conversation, he accused me of causing unrelated family problems, including my brother dropping out of university, said I hated my brother, I don't, and claimed that he'd been planning this beach trip as a gift for us all along. From my perspective, the beach trip only became his gift after I asked my mom what she thought about the Airbnb I had found. The argument eventually came down to this. My dad said my wife's family isn't his family, and I said this was supposed to be my vacation with my wife and children, not something my parents got to control. Now my parents think I'm ungrateful and overreacted. I think they crossed a line by taking over plans that weren't theirs to make and trying to dictate who could be included. Am I the asshole? Corrected mistyped age. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, I like your spine. Your family sounds exhausting. Another commenter said, agreed. OP is standing up for his family, and I applaud that. His family are the AH. Do the vacation that you want with your awesome little family. To add screw everyone else that wants to be an AH about your trip. It's your trip, your wife, your kids, and your parents try to bulldoze all of it and quietly cut out her family on top of it. Canceling wasn't an overreaction. It was you refusing to let them hijack your vacation. You stood up for your wife, and that makes you the furthest thing from the asshole. Not the asshole. If you want to hear stories from different subreddits, let me know down in the comments. And that's a wrap on today's batch of entitlement and audacity. But I want to hear from you. Did you agree with the community on all three, or is there one where you'd flip the verdict? Drop your hot takes in the comments. I read every single one. There's a whole pile of stories just like these waiting for you. So stick around, because the drama never stops around here. See you in the next one.